What is going on, everybody? This is Joey of Underage Packers. Welcoming you to episode 29. I'm, as always, joined by my great co-host, Big B.
What is happening?
How are we feeling? After, bye week, but we're finally back previewing a Packers game.
Yep, feels pretty good.
Would you like to give our first hint of our guest today?
All right. He is the number one radio host in Wisconsin, according to the Green Bay Press-Gazette.
And he is the worst softball referee, according to Jordy Nelson himself. He's coming off his appearance on the Pat McAfee show. Please welcome Matt Rammage.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Glad to have you on, Matt.
Hey, I'm glad to be on.
All right, so today we're going to be previewing the Bucs game with Matt, and then getting a little bit later into the show, we're going to be talking about what he's got going on his YouTube channel, his radio show, and all that good stuff. Before we get into that, Big B, would you like to give us the Packers injury report?
All right. Rashawn Gary, Devontae Adams, Kenny Clark all should be back. Kevin King and Tyler Ervin has missed practices.
Yeah, the past 2 days, and we'll talk about a little of Kevin King when we get more into the Packers defense. But let's start off with the Packers offense here. So far through 4 weeks, they have worked extremely well with anybody. For all the talk there was this offseason about them not having any weapons. They sure look like they have plenty of weapons to score touchdowns this year. Aaron Rodgers looking like he's in MVP form. As Big B just mentioned, Devontae is finally coming back. And the offensive line, I think, is really the star of the show. Aaron Rodgers, he can have all the flashy and sexy plays, but the offensive line is really going to hold up. Would you agree with that, Matt? And Big B, would you say, that even though Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones can be scoring those touchdowns, the offensive line should really be the focus of the center hold, the big key to this offensive success this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think the offensive line is really, really important. Mm-hmm. Without the offensive line holding up, the running isn't the same. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have time. This offense is just ridiculous this season. And a big part of that is the offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even after letting Brian Bulaga go, to be able to pick up Billy Turner, who a lot of people had mixed feelings after last year, and then Rick Wagner bringing him over for the Lions to replace one of the best tackles in the league. Big B, what do you have to say about the offense line this year?
Well, they're doing their job. I'm really impressed. Loving Lucas Patrick. I really love watching Billy Turner play at right tackle, so I'm really impressed.
Yeah, and even just when we lose Brian Bulaga or we lose Bakhtiari Bulaga, especially, who's pretty injury prone, we struggled. We had to throw Byron Bell in there. But this year, we've had John Runyon, a lot of different guys go out there and work phenomenally for us. And also just talking more about the offense, they've scored 40 points in the first 2 weeks and 30 the next 2 weeks. Do you think we see another high-scoring shootout this week against Tampa Bay, Matt?
Yeah, I think we do. I don't think anything's slowing this offense down. Tampa Bay does have a good defense, but Aaron Rodgers seems to play up for Brady. He seems to – because he knows what it is, everyone's going to talk about. So I think he's always motivated, but when he's got Brady on the other team, I think he's got a little bit more motivation to show out.
Yeah, and so far, I hate to talk – Big B knows this. I am probably the least person that likes to talk about MVP talk because I think it's all chit-chat and it means nothing. But Aaron Rodgers front rush for MVP. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, let's move on to the Tampa Bay offense on the other side. Big B, what are your main observations about Tampa Bay so far?
Well, the old guy is in charge, Tom Brady. Doing pretty well, I would say. I mean, it would really help if you knew the downs.
Yeah. Your guy Jamal got in trouble today.
Yep.
What was his exact quote on the Game on Wisconsin show?
Shoot, I really don't know.
I think he said, I know my quarterback knows when it's fourth down or something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Brady wasn't showing solidarity with Jason Pierre-Paul when he was throwing up four fingers. But, yeah, we can only hope that Aaron doesn't get to that point. But, yeah, Tom Brady has done some really interesting stuff. Like you just mentioned, Matt. Last time they played, 2018 wasn't the best showing for either of them. Played pretty average game for both of them. And then the Aaron Jones fumble pretty much ruined it all. And then keep it on topic with Jamal Williams, Ronald Jones, his good friend, along with apparently his uncle, Luke Neal, especially with Leonard Fournette out, he's going to be a big piece. I don't know how well he did against the Bears this week because I didn't watch too much of that game, but I know he got me 17 fantasy points. So that's all good stuff from Ronald Jones. Big B, what do you have to say on Ronald Jones? And do you think he's our biggest threat on the offense, on the Tampa Bay offense?
Maybe. I mean, if he gets really rolling, I think he's going to be a massive threat. But Ronald Jones is a stud. I love that guy. And totally not because, Jamal Williams. Totally not. But, yeah.
Since you're sarcastic, Nick, they got a lot of weapons, though. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, the Madden legend, Scotty Miller, and Rob Gronkowski. Who do you think is the biggest threat on this Tampa Bay offense, Matt?
Well, I think that it's going to be kind of like the Packers, how they every week, you don't know what they're going to do. So what Brady always did with Belichick, I don't know if it was more Belichick to Brady because obviously Brady ain't making the play, the game plan.
Yeah.
But they always try to use – so I think that they'll try to attack, what we lack. So I think that they're going to try to run the ball. I think most teams are going to try to really run the ball in the Packers defense.
Yeah, and definitely having Leonard Fournette out doesn't help them. But if they can get Ronald Jones rolling, I think that's what the biggest thing that the teams we've beaten so far, whether it be Todd Gurley and the Falcons or Alvin Kamara and the Saints, they weren't able to stick to the running game. They had to pass because there was time when it's run out and the Packers offense didn't put the effing brake on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you get a lead, even if they're running successfully, you get that lead, Rodgers and the offense keeps going, we're scoring touchdowns, not field goals, then eventually if they have a few 3-and-outs, now they got to start throwing, and that's not going to help them at all.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing with Mike Pettin. I think everybody knows at this point Mike Pettin's not going to have a perfect game anytime soon, at least with this Packers. But if we just get a few stops there and have this offense, and obviously, when we hired Matt LaFleur, that's not really what we wanted to happen, have the back still on Aaron Rodgers. But the defense gets a few stops here and there, and then Rodgers, Jones have a lot of weapons on offense, keep on scoring, then we should have an easy win there. Speaking about that defense, Mike Pettin, biggest problem for them is obviously the missed tackles, stopping the run, stopping anything really. But this week, having Kenny Clark will definitely help. We have to stop Ronald Jones, Rojo. And like we were just mentioning, and me and Big B were talking about this on Nagler's Never Right, the game plan for the Packers defense has to be not letting them run all day with Jones, not letting them get into that groove, and forcing Tom Brady to throw and having him throw those one or two inaccurate ones. I think the Buccaneers offense is pretty different from the Patriots where they're doing a lot of check downs. I don't know if that was really Belichick conforming to what Brady did best and just letting those guys like Sony Michel or James White get past there and get that rack. But they're throwing over the middle, throwing some more deep balls, a lot more than we saw with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. And what I really want to talk about, a lot of hate, a lot of not too kind words, a lot of disappointment about Preston Smith. And, it's kind of like you look back at last year, Rashawn Gary was getting a lot of hate just because he couldn't see the field. Now all of a sudden he's seeing the field. He's doing great stuff. Now everybody kind of forgot that they were calling Rashawn Gary a bust 6 months ago. What do you think of that comparison really with Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary, and how long do you think it takes for Rashawn Gary to really take over as that second outside linebacker, Matt?
I love me some Preston Smith. He's my guy. We talk a little bit. He follows me on Instagram, and but I think that they're asking him to do different stuff this year. Like he's going off in coverage more. Like the defense as a whole, as getting to besides Zadarius Smith, Rashawn Gary is doing his thing, but it seems like you just can't expect. I don't think like Khalil Mack the year before. Like he had a phenomenal year for the Bears, and they're not going to do that every year. Like just have an insane year. But I'm biased as hell with Preston Smith because he's my dude. Yeah. But I think give him time, dude. I think that with them dropping him in coverage, I'm hoping this week they just let him attack because you got to get in Brady's face. You can't let Brady be comfortable. If Brady's comfortable, he's going to throw it all over the field. So I say they go back to last year's game plan and just shoot it out.
Yeah, and I know our friend Andy Herman will deny that, and he'll bring up his nerdy numbers to say something like Preston's dropping back in the coverage at the same time. So maybe the numbers are deceiving us, but it definitely feels like it's more noticeable when Preston goes into coverage, and obviously not what he does best. Big B, what do you think Preston has taken a step down? Obviously, not having Kenny Clark in there to have more double teams on Preston, as well as just having a full season for these offenses to watch. What do you think of Preston's miss so far this season?
Well, I mean, he clearly took a step down this year. I really think that with Kenny Clark coming back, that they'll draw more double teams to Zadarius and Clark, so then Preston will have that one-on-one. It's going to get good, I think.
Yeah, the Smith Bros and all outside linebackers have a pretty tough match with this offensive line coming up. You got Andrew Norwell, or I think I'm thinking of the Jaguars, but Tristan Wirfs. They got a pretty good offensive line over there, so hopefully they can get into the flow. And like we keep on saying, put pressure on Tom Brady. The star of the Tampa Bay team, though, they have a pretty good, well-together offense, but the star of them is their defense. Vita Vea in there, he got hurt season-ending injury, unfortunately, against the Bears this past week. But they still have a lot of stars, and I think really overall they have a well put together, like I just said. They might not have the most stars, but all around they got some really good players that can do their job perfectly, whether it be Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Antoine Woodfield Jr., or Jason Pierre-Paul, who's kind of out of his prime, as well as Ndamukong Suh there on the defense line. And I'll ask the same question here on the defense side. Who's the biggest threat on the Tampa Bay defense?
I don't really know because I don't know the Bucs that great, but I know that they have a great defense because I do watch people like Nagler and all these guys that do know stuff. But I don't worry. I think the Packers offense is so good. Like there's not a defense that I think will stop them. The defense could slow them down, but the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing, and like without his top two wide receivers, what he did, and now he's gonna have Adams back. Like I don't think this Buccaneers team. I'm not saying that it's gonna be like a blowout. And they're gonna be like, this is an easy team, but I think that I'm very confident that the Packers will on offense will handle their business.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with that. Really is. Like last week, we had Malik Taylor and Darius Shepard going out there as our 2 and 3 wide receivers, and Robert Tonyan scores 3 touchdowns. Every week, it's someone new. And what do you think is that to credit to? Is it year 2 of Matt LaFleur's offense, or is it really just maybe once again Rodgers getting more comfortable with these guys?
I think it's both. I think Rodgers getting more comfortable, but also I think this LaFleur offense is like what Rodgers likes. He likes taking care of the ball. He likes. Also, like him knowing the offense another year in, LaFleur, I think, is more comfortable with everything, with the whole playbook open. So, like, it's just like a match made in heaven, I think, with Rodgers and LaFleur. And not just Rodgers, but the whole offense. Like, dude, I think Tanyan's going to have a crazy good year. Like, I've been rooting for this guy for so long. Three games in a row with a touchdown. You got a 3-touchdown game. Like, he is that dude.
Yeah, I love the tight ends that we got. Jay Sternberger, he's hopefully going to back along. He's had 2 injuries, whether it be COVID or was it Lonnie Johnson who absolutely knocked him out at training camp last year? That was pretty bad, but he's starting to get back on that train. You got Bobby Tonyan, like we just mentioned. Fortunately, we don't have Jimmy Graham going in there just because of his contract. But yeah, we got a lot of great tight ends here. So, Big B, do you think we have to worry about the Tampa Bay defense, or do you think we'll be able to attack those weak spots and still score 3 or 4 touchdowns this week?
I don't think their defense is gonna be a big factor in this game. It's just like Matt said, Aaron Rodgers is playing out of his mind. There's no defense that can stop this offense, it feels like.
Yeah, hopefully we can just run all over them like we did, whether it be run game with Aaron Jones, pass game with Aaron Rodgers, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, whatever wide receivers we're throwing out there. Hopefully we can be still working on all sides. So let's talk about, we love to do 2 or 3 standard questions. to end every episode. So let's talk about key matchups of this week's game. I'll let you go first, Matt. What two players or two groups have to face off against each other, and what group that wins that matchup will come out on top for their team?
I think the really important is Packers linebackers. And the whole defensive line, really, getting at Brady. I think that for our defense, because I have full faith in our secondary. Like, Alexander is just, like, no one's going to be tearing him up anytime soon. So get in Brady's face. Don't even give him the chance. Stop the run. I mean, that whole defensive line and the linebackers, they have to just shut it down. And I think I have faith, but I have faith every week. I'm the most optimistic. Doesn't matter. I always have faith, but that's what needs to happen.
I had faith in the last two NFC championship games, so I kind of agree with you there about the defensive line putting pressure on Brady. Like I said earlier, it's a pretty good offensive line, so if we can just get through, break some blocks, obviously having Kenny Clark back, put pressure on Brady, stop the run game at the line. What is your key matchup, Big B?
All right. It is the Tampa Bay wide receivers versus our DBs. Mostly Chris Godwin versus either Kevin King or Josh Jackson, because that's going to be a really big matchup, either who's playing, because we don't know if King is playing, and Josh Jackson's going to be really interesting going up against a very good wide receiver.
Yeah, Josh Jackson is my guy, man. The only reason I predicted that the Packers would draft him like back in November of 2017, so he's been my guy ever since that. But man, he sure did get torched by Tom Brady in Foxborough last time around. And finally, before we talk about what you're doing on your YouTube channel, Matt, what is your favorite? We like to have, well, that seems weird, older guys, but just more experienced people on our show to guest. So what is your favorite Packers Buccaneers memory of your lifetime, or Packers or Rodgers Brady?
Well, with the Buccaneers, like, I'm old. So, like, the Warren Sapp, Brett Favre back in the day.
NFC Central.
Yeah, dude, those were, like, just – I was young, so I don't think appreciate it as much as I should have. But, like, Favre and Warren Sapp getting each other's face, just screaming at each other. And they were friends, but you couldn't tell on the field. I think they were friends after. I'm not sure at the time. But, yeah, those matchups were crazy. That Buccaneers team was outstanding. They won a Super Bowl. And Rodgers Brady, I mean, anytime you can get Rod, I know that they don't play each other, because that's an argument everyone talks about. Like, they don't play each other, but you're watching two greats, just like Brady when Peyton Manning back in the day. And when you're watching two great offenses, two great quarterbacks, you just got to enjoy it.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that. Hopefully, we've gotten really unlucky in the past with Brady-Rodgers matchup, not just for our side, but everybody as a fan. It's not that big shootout. Before, was it 2014 when Rodgers got injured and Matt Flynn went in there? I think that was the same game where you had that offensive lineman returning like a squib kick for 30 yards.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Big B, what is your favorite Packers Buccaneers memory?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go with the 20. What year was it? I think it was 17 when Aaron Jones had that walk-off touchdown time. That was just amazing.
I think I'm going to agree with you there, just because, I didn't even remember that play till like a few weeks ago when you reminded me of it. That was a great play right there, just overtime. And that was with Brett Hundley, one of our few wins with Brett Hundley. So to end off, Matt, you've obviously been working pretty hard on getting your live shows going and on your YouTube channel. So what do you got going on over there, so you can just tell our viewers to go check you out?
Oh, I do live shows on my Facebook and my YouTube, and I put it on Twitter. But dude, I just have fun. Like, you guys are good. Like,
yeah.
How old are you guys?
15 and 14.
Yeah, you guys are good. You probably know way more than I do. No, because like what I do is I'm just like the average fan. Like, I'm not like a expert. I'm not like a know-it-all and film junkie. Like, a lot of guys do that so good. Like, I tried at first, and I was like, no, that ain't my skill. So I just have fun. I bring people on. We talk football just like you would talk football if you were, whatever, at school or at your job or wherever. And we just have fun. It's not serious. And but yeah, dude, I'm having a blast. Pat McAfee put my clip on his show. Yeah. Another show did. which is like insane to me because I'm just the average fan.
Yeah, and I just love to be talking to you because I remember probably watching your Facebook videos since like 2017. I know probably my aunts and uncles on the Facebook probably love your stuff. I'll be sure to send this to my Aunt Pat because I'm sure she's probably seen your Facebook videos somewhere along the line. Well, I think we're going to end off. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on. Make sure to give Matt a follow on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere you can find him, and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Follow us on our Twitter, Instagram, even our Facebook page now put out, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Can't thank you enough, Matt, for joining.
Hey, you guys do a great job. Keep at it.
Thanks so much. Hope everybody enjoys this Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Green Bay Packers game this week. And we'll talk to you this Monday. Go Pack Go.